Above all, don't invest in Dubai. If you're even remotely interested in real estate investment in Dubai, you've probably heard this phrase 10 times from one person or another. For those who don't know me, my name is Agathe. I've been living in Dubai since 2013 and I've been investing for over 10 years. In 2019, I founded Agents Dubai to support foreign investors in their real estate investment journey in Dubai. Usually when you talk a bit with people around you and explain that you have a project to invest in Dubai, you get 1,001 people telling you, no, you absolutely shouldn't do it. It's a scam, it's a country that's going to collapse, it's this, it's that. In fact, there are a lot of people who either project their own fears onto you or have personal interest in whether or not you invest. Not in Dubai, or simply people who would like to do it themselves but don't dare, can't take the leap. And so they'll try to discourage you from doing it because they're a bit envious and jealous. Now you might say to me, but Agathe, of course you're going to say the opposite. You're a real estate agent, so obviously you're going to encourage us to invest. That's true, fair enough. I sell apartments and villas in Dubai, so of course I'm going to tell you it's a good idea. And besides, if I didn't think it was a good idea, I wouldn't be suggesting to others to invest here as well. But above all, before I became an agent in Dubai, I was an investor myself. I'm still an investor in Dubai, I still continue to invest. The reason I invest heavily in real estate here is because I believe it's a good idea. I'm sure that if you've already started talking a little bit to people around you, telling them that you might want to invest in Dubai, you've probably had people say to you, no way, you're crazy, that's not possible, whatever you do, don't do it, and so on. And of course, you might think that if I'm trying to convince you otherwise, it's just because I'm a real estate agent in Dubai, and naturally I'm going to encourage you to do it. So first of all, if I didn't think that Dubai was something extremely stable and interesting for investment, I wouldn't have started an agency to encourage people to invest here in the first place. And secondly, even before I had my agency, I was already an investor in Dubai myself, and in fact I still am. I continue to invest and acquire properties here in Dubai. So it's not just that I'm telling you to do it, but I'm also doing it myself. And by the way, when I started, it was more than 10 years now. Not only did I not talk much about it to those around me, like my parents, my friends, and so on, because I was really afraid of worrying them. I knew it was something that would scare them. And when I started talking about it, people told me, Amir, you should never have done that. It's going to collapse. It's not stable. We don't have enough hindsight, etc. And today, 10 years later, when they see the results and the performance of my investments, they're very happy for me. And they ask me to help them do the same thing. Now let's go back one by one. The 10 types of people who, when you talk to them about investing in Dubai, will try to discourage you from doing it. Number one is going to be the person closest to you, the skeptical partner who likes, as they say, safe investment, a good family man. And so when you talk to them about investing abroad, not necessarily Dubai, but when you mention Bali or maybe Morocco, Spain or Portugal, they immediately get stressed out. This is the kind of person who would buy an apartment in the same building they live in, or on the same street, just to be sure it's something they know. It's normal to listen to this person anyway. And above all, generally when you invest as a couple, your partner is directly involved. So obviously it has to be a decision that both agree on. But investment in general, the safest one isn't necessarily the best, at least not the most profitable. And just because you live somewhere in a particular city or even in a certain country doesn't mean it's automatically the best place to invest. There may be much better opportunities internationally, and Dubai is one of them. Generally, this skepticism doesn't come from Dubai specifically, but rather from a lack of information and a fear of the unknown. As we always say, fear is always a very bad advisor. So if you've been convinced, maybe it's because you've watched my video. Don't hesitate to share my videos with them and encourage them to do their own research so that in turn they might change their mind. Profile number 2 is well-intentioned friend. These are generally people who don't know the market, either because similarly they are very conservative, or because they lack information and feel a bit offended. In a way, it's because you found something they didn't know about. And these are usually people who are either somewhat driven by their fears, who lack information, and who might be a bit jealous because potentially they don't have the means or the ability to invest here, and you can invest in things that they don't have access to. So that's the same thing. They're not necessarily good advisors, especially since generally these are people who don't know the market. So the least you can do, it's true when you decide to invest in a particular market, whether it's Dubai or somewhere else, is to approach professionals, experts, people who know this market and who can actually give you real numbers and who rely on reliable sources. Profile number 3, and this one I know it by heart, it's the cautious banker who will find 1,001 reasons to keep you from moving your money out of his bank. But that So here, it's not about fear, it's not about jealousy, it's not about lack of information. We're clearly dealing with someone who has a vested interest in you leaving your savings in his account, because as we all know in retail banking with clients' deposits, that's how the bank creates mortgages, etc. And as a result, make money. So when you withdraw money from an account, from your own account, it's your money, it's your account, then the bank can no longer use it. For them, that's a loss of potential earning. So bankers will come up with every possible reason to keep you from investing in Dubai. They'll say it's a scam, they'll say it's dangerous, they'll ask you for 1,001 documents, and they'll even often ask you, I've had this happen several times, to translate the documents, the purchase contracts into French, etc. But that's something we're used to, we take care of it. Don't worry about that. If you really want to invest here, the banker won't be a problem. Profile number 4, the alarmist accountant. What will they tell you? But if you invest in Dubai, if there are financial flows going to Dubai, but that's okay. No, you'll get hit with a tax audit, etc. First of all, there's no need to worry about a tax audit if you're following the rules. So that's the first point. Second point, the person who will get a tax audit is usually someone with a risky profile. The individual who is what I call a risky profile is someone who has multiple businesses, etc., where you might do some under the table stuff. You know, it's not everyone. A regular employee, a salaried worker who has their savings, their investments, if one day they invest in Dubai, they will have zero risk of a tax audit and won't have to worry about that kind of thing at all. And even if that were the case, there's really nothing to worry about on that front. We have clients who are considered high risk profiles, who have holding companies, multiple businesses, several companies, even abroad, and who invest in Dubai through companies that are subsidiaries of their French companies. And we support them with these kinds of things in a completely clean and legal way. Legal and in compliance with French tax regulations. And these people have never been audited just because they invested in Dubai. So that too was completely false. It's just accountants who don't know how to handle this, who lack expertise with this kind of setup. And as a result, they don't want to step out of their comfort zone. Fifth profile, the so-called internet experts who go around telling anyone who will listen that Dubai is over, that Dubai is sinking, that Dubai is dead, and so on. Just to get views. Dubai is something that sells papers. You can clearly see it with the French media and so on. As soon as you put Dubai in a show title, you immediately break all audience records. People who are seeking attention and notoriety use it a lot, Dubai, because it's true that it's a trendy destination, both for holidays, for living there, or for investing there. And so to get views, people will say Dubai is dead and so on. Most of these people have never even set foot in Dubai. They discovered Dubai and managed to put it on the map post-COVID, because at that time everyone gathered here since everything was open. But the thing is, Dubai didn't wait for them. Dubai is a city that has been booming for the past 20 years. And it's not because some influencers discovered it 4 or 5 years ago that suddenly it's booming today and will die out tomorrow. So once again, we're dealing with people who have an interest in spreading this kind of narrative because it boosts their notoriety, because it gets them views, it's their business model. But generally there's nothing behind it. There are no solid arguments, no data, no reliable sources they rely on. It's just to make this kind of video. Generally, the profile is a little bonus profile that's attached to these types of people, influencers who make videos against Dubai. It's all the haters who leave comments because they've never set foot here. And basically, they don't like Dubai just because they don't like Dubai. We don't know why, but it makes them happy to bash Dubai 24/7. Profile number 6, the cautious in-laws. Here too, it's not necessarily coming from a bad place. It's usually people from another generation who see Dubai as something distant. Back then, people invested very little in real estate. Generally, people bought property mainly as their primary residence. So here we're talking about real estate investment, about investing in property abroad and in a country that's basically a new city compared to cities like London, New York, and so on. So for those people, for that type of profile who wish you harm, but actually they're just trying to protect you because they don't know about it, and to them all of this seems completely frightening and like a very risky investment. But once again, it's not something based on real data. It's more a lack of information, really, a perception and a set of preconceived notions about Dubai. And again, if your in-laws are nice, I suggest you send them to my channel to watch quite a few of my videos. And we have more and more clients and retired buyers who come to invest in Dubai, so it would be our pleasure to assist them. Profile 7, sensationalist media that put Dubai in every headline. Dubai, the hidden side of Dubai, beware Dubai, the land of scams and influencer thieves, etc. There you go, it's the same thing as always. It's just to sell papers, to get ratings. And I think you know exactly who I'm talking about. All those shows like Cash Investigation on Kate's Exclusives, 7 or 8, and so on. As soon as you mention Dubai, you break record. So again, it's the same thing. It's just to sell papers, to get ratings. People love to bash Dubai. Well, people who generally have never even set foot there and who have a really negative bias for one reason or another. So as a result, it's true that it worked. These are things that work, and it's a formula that's used quite a lot. They put Dubai everywhere in the media, but once again, it's based on absolutely nothing. But of course, I'm not lumping everyone together. There are some very interesting documentaries about Dubai. There are also some very talented journalists like Elise Gustet, for example, whom I mentioned earlier from Cash Investigation. I love this woman. And by the way, big shout out to you, Elise. So yes, there are some things that are really good, but it's true that in general, it's always negative. It's always sensational stuff. And honestly, it's based on absolutely nothing in terms of really solid and real market data. Profile number 8, jealous colleagues who discourage you because they will never have the courage to do it themselves. And these people, you know them, you have plenty of them around you. It's the same guy who tells you to go complain to management when something's wrong, who always pushes you to negotiate a raise, but who never does it himself. These are people who are driven by fear and a bit of jealousy, a bit of envy. And again, these are people who, generally speaking, have never even set foot in Dubai. Even if they've already been to Dubai, what you see in a week of vacation is not at all a relevant perspective on the real estate market here. So these are people who know nothing about it, or who have the neighbor of their cousin's neighbor who one day visited an apartment in Dubai and found it too expensive, too much of this, too much of that. There is no expertise behind this kind of thinking. And once again, it's not reliable at all. It's something that's driven both by fear, but also a bit by envy and jealousy, because they will never have the courage to take the leap. The 9th profile is cultural stereotypes. People who think that because we're in a Muslim country, we won't have the same rights as in France. When we invest, those who think that women won't have any rights, that they can't drive, that they're required to wear a veil. Well, as you can see, I'm not veiled and I drive. The proof is that all of this is completely false. There are also those who think that Dubai is just 3 towers standing alone in the middle of the desert. And so as a result, it's a country that relies on the oil economy, and anyway, in 20 years there won't be any more oil. It's a country that's going to sink, etc. That too is completely false. The transition precisely after oil. The post-oil transition actually began about 30 years ago in Dubai, and you can clearly see it. Tourism has been developed, the economy, finance. Today it's truly a country that is extremely diversified economically, and for which the end of oil will, in principle, have no impact, or only a very minor one. So that's yet another thing that's based on nothing, just preconceived ideas, because we as Europeans have our own bias when we look at Middle Eastern countries. As if, well, they're just oil dictatorships that aren't real countries and so on. These are things I hear all the time, and they're completely false. It's based on absolutely nothing, just preconceived notions from Europeans who look at the rest of the world through their own lens. And finally, profile number 10, and this one is the most important. It's yourself, it's your little inner voice that makes you doubt every decision you're about to make, and that's completely normal too. When you're about to invest, to step out of well-trodden paths, to leave your comfort zone, to invest in a distant country you don't know, with a different culture, a different language, of course you're going to have questions. It would actually be strange to do that on a whim and feel super confident about it. But unfortunately, it's often outside your comfort zone that you find the best opportunity. And that's true in every area, whether it's professional, investing, or even, I would say, in your relationships with people. So as a result, it's really important. Now, I don't have any advice to give to anyone. You have to do something that feels right for you. But in general, it's always said that fear is a very bad advisor. You need to make your investment decisions based on real data, on numbers. And the reality is that today in Dubai, despite everything people might tell you, despite fears, despite the jealousy of some, the envy, and the projections those people might put on you, Dubai still remains the city in the world where you get the best rental yields, where there is no tax on rental income, and there are no inheritance fees in the event of death either. It's a city that hasn't stopped growing over the past 5 years. On average, real estate prices increased by 10%. But on average, it's 10% per year over the past 5 years. These are real numbers. We're not basing this on irrational fears. We're not basing this on cultural prejudices. And that's why I invest here, and I encourage you to keep investing here as well. So if you recognize people you know, or saw similarities with people you know among the 10 profiles I just described, above all, know that it's not a big deal. It can be fixed. You can always manage to overcome it. And by the way, for those who are interested and still motivated, despite all the discouragement you might face from various sides, don't hesitate to contact us via the link in the description. Whether it's me or a member of my team, we'll be happy to support you on your investment journey in Dubai. And in the meantime, I'll see you soon in the next video.